Thank you. Check one. Okay, hi. Good morning, everybody. This is Cheap Security Audits with Linux Live CDs. I'm your speaker today, Bethlyn Eicher from Carnegie Mellon School of Computer Science. I would like you to actually listen to this talk. This means I'm going to ask you to hold all your questions till the end. I would prefer it not if you had side conversations. Please make sure that your cell phones are unaudible at this time. And if a call arises, please escort yourself out. Do not answer the call in the lecture hall. And if at all possible, please make your computer not audible either. And this is a challenge to you. I challenge you to not use your electronic devices if at all possible, because I'm giving you an opportunity to learn something valuable that you can take back to your employer, and it will perhaps be very profitable to you later. Therefore, it's to your benefit to actually listen now. Thank you. You might be a system administrator if. By raise of hands, who actually has the job title of system administrator? Anyone here? Good. A lot of people do system administrative tasks who aren't necessarily given the job title of system administrator. They might be given the title of help desk, IT support, but definitely if you're the only IT person in your organization, even if your organization is your family, then you are the system administrator, and therefore you're responsible for all the data and the network, etc. So what do we mean by cheap? It's not going to cost you a lot of money to do a security audit with a Linux Live CD, because these tools are open source and they do not cost anything out of the box. And it's not going to cost you very much time either. What exactly do we mean by an audit? We're just going to check out and observe the conditions that are there. We're not going to get too much into the nitty-gritty of fixing something, and we're not going to get involved with a long-term monitoring project. All we're doing is just observing the conditions right now. Recommended Linux Live CDs. So at this point in time, I'm recommending the most recent Knoppix, which is 4.0.2, and I include on that bullet point 3.7, because if you have some really old hardware, 3.7 is the last Knoppix disk with the 2.4 kernel. Knoppix STD is an oldie but goodie, but it is definitely starting to show its age. There's a live CD distribution called Backtrack, which is formerly known as WAX, which is formerly known as Wapix. Whenever these guys finally get a direction and commit to it, I'm sure that they're definitely on the right track to having a very quality sort of live CD product. it's my understanding that Backtrack is based on a distribution called Slackware, which may be of more interest to you. There's also a distribution that's specific for doing this stuff called Auditor from remoteexploit.org. Again, I am only recommending the most recent Knoppix because of the release cycles. You may find out that Auditor has a new release and you may want to switch to them. Auditor is also based on Knoppix. And then there's another CD that is called the System Rescue CD. And the System Rescue CD may not come to mind when you're thinking of security audits, but I have an example as to how that particular CD would be better for the application versus Knoppix or something else. Other CDs that you may want to have on your bench. Just burn a CD with most recent rootkit type programs. You may want to have your favorite operating system installation media, or perhaps that particular OS's rescue CD. There is something that the Windows folks are calling the Windows Knoppix, which is BART-PE. But I must warn you that this is BART-PE is not open source. You have to read the licensing and be careful before you proceed with that. So why would you go about doing a security audit? Your users are surely not going to ask for it. It will be considered somewhat of an intrusion of privacy to them, and they might get a little paranoid that you're going to break something as you're doing the security audit. Management is not likely to ask for your security audit either, but they might feel urged to comply to some sort of legal standards or customer standards, or maybe somebody that they want to partner with in the future may have standards for your site. I've also heard of insurance companies wanting some sort of audit or some sort of disaster plan to be in place. Another way that management could start to pay attention is there's a security incident that occurs, and that would certainly draw their attention. But the equation I have down here is vulnerability plus exposure equals liability. Perhaps once you sell the cost benefit of doing this, since it's really only going to cost time in the long run, that this may be considered valuable. So you need to initiate the process. So that means you have to get away from the keyboard and perhaps deal with some of what we call in the field is the soft topics of system administration. And once you call it a project, you can start to build a committee, and these are the types of buzzwords that I hear in some sites might actually get somebody a raise. And you definitely need to get management approval first. As much as I love Grace Murray Hopper's advice, it's much easier to apologize than ask for permission. So, excuse me. Please leave. Thank you. So, why do we need to ask permission to continue with our security audit? Proceeding without permission could be illegal. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I do not know every statute in every state, but the PA Title 18, Chapter 76 computer offenses basically states that you cannot view, transmit, do anything that could be possibly a privacy violation to a user's data. And also in my geographic area, you cannot be one of those types of war drivers who just so happen to conveniently notice an open wireless network and knock on that person's door and say, I want to sell a security solution for you. That is also illegal in my area. So another reason why you definitely need to tell your management, because you could cause havoc on your network, because you could possibly create a denial of service attack sort of situation while you're auditing. And you also don't want to be blamed if for some coincidence that something bad happens while you're doing this security audit that has nothing to do with your security audit. So unless you have a published policy announcing that this is going to be done, you're already invading your user's privacy, which again may be illegal. And another reason is you do want to strive towards a code of ethics, especially if you're a professional system administrator. So how do you go about doing this? You need to document what systems will be audited, what tools you'll be using, when you're doing this, if you find something, are you allowed to further investigate, and exactly how you've informed the users. Do you have a terms of service agreement that already has the legal authority that you've already signed off on this? Or do you need to go ahead and inform your users at this time? And it would be good to have this document all in one place, that you've taken care of these steps before you proceed. So I'm going to give you 4 scenarios. This is the first one. You've been hired by a small company to be the sole IT person. Nothing has been documented, so no one knows what each computer does. The risks. So no one knows to knowing the administrator or root passwords. Somebody must have known it at some point, somewhere, because then the password wouldn't have been set. But you don't know if the people who are saying, I don't know the password, do they really know the password or not? There are several neglected systems on your network that the former system administrator may not have been taken care of. Meanwhile, all your users are typing passwords, adding data to these neglected systems. So how do you proceed with this audit? Use Ethereal to capture the packets for a few days. I would give it about 72 hours. Use Nmap to document the open ports. That's a very quick way to do it, but I suggest that you also run Nessus for a couple days as well. The things that you should look for is you need to identify the IP addresses on the network, what services are running, remote logins. Who are these people? Do they have a right to be on your network? So this is a screenshot of Ethereal. So you have the source, destination, what kind of traffic is happening here, and if you follow what kind of traffic is happening here through many of the various sorts, it allows you to sort through the